So again, welcome. We typically start off with, oh, way to go, Todd. Nobody wants to see a full, someone chewing, yeah. It's good to see everybody. We usually start with introductions. So let's do that. I'll call you out, how you show up on my screen. First, there are some new names here. So I'm just going to quickly introduce myself. My name is Amy Lukes. I'm a clinical social worker who has extensive experience in community mental health, working with this population, and working with folks on an AOT order. And my colleague, Betsy.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm probably the only one on this call who's not a clinician, but I work with Amy on the implementation team and love to just listen in so I can learn something new from all of you experts. So thanks for having me.
So for the rest of y'all, introduce yourself, where your AOT program is, and what your role is on the AOT team. So we'll start with Tara.
I'm Tara Sevier. I am program manager for the AOT program in Austin, Texas with Integral Care. I am the project director, and then I'm also the only licensed clinician on the team.
That's a lot of duties for you.
Can't you see the hats?
The big hat. Yep, you're wearing a lot of hats. Sheila.
Hi, I'm Sheila Schrader with Sumner Mental Health Center. This is our first time to attend this meeting because we are just getting started in the AOT process. And so looking forward to hearing what you guys are doing to make things work well so that maybe we don't have to reinvent the wheel so much in our county. So thank you.
Yeah, what county is that?
Sumner County.
State?
Kansas.
Sumner, Kansas. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mackenzie.
Hi, my name is Mackenzie Tomasic. I'm a licensed clinical social worker for the Pinellas County, Florida AOT program. We've been up and running since 2018. And I am the only licensed staff on the team, but the program supervisor as well.
Also, well, that's pretty typical of social workers, wearing many, many hats. So, Michelle Worth.
Hi, I'm Michelle Worth. I'm a licensed clinical counselor. I am the clinical specialist for the Mental Health and Recovery Board in Mahoney County, Ohio. I am not the only clinician that is on our team. We have a multiple group of folks, clinicians, that get together and discuss our clients that are on the AOT program.
Wendy Griffith.
Hi, everybody. I'm Wendy Griffith. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I'm in Covington, Louisiana. And I am the program director for the 22nd Judicial District Court here. And we're going on 14 months with our program.
Way to go. Now, some of you, I may mispronounce your name, so I'm sorry. Sue Merman.
Hi. Close enough. It doesn't matter. You got Sue right? My name's Sue Mernan. I'm from the Association of Community Mental Health Centers in Kansas. So we're just expanding our AOT programs to additional counties in the state of Kansas. And so I will help support the new centers as they're getting going.
Excellent. Brian Carr.
Hello, my name is Brian Carr. I'm with Sumner Mental Health Center in Wellington. Sheila is my boss, actually. So she's just recruited me in the last week or two to come on as the project coordinator. So she just wants me to kind of get as much information as we can. So get up and running.
Awesome. Todd.
My name is Todd Van Buskirk. I am a LCSW in Valparaiso, Indiana. And we have a civil commitment process, and we've been working with Amy and Betsy and their team for about 2 months and trying to engage to enhance and make that process more supportive. Glad to be here today. And I will be shutting my camera off so I can eat my sandwich here. So.
Roderick Salvador.
Oh, hi. My name is Roderick. I'm with AOT in Los Angeles County. I'm a licensed psychiatric technician, and glad to be here.
Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Adrian Spruce.
Hello, all. Feel so lowly. I'm just a little case manager. I'm out of Louisville, Kentucky, working with the AOT team since February of last year. I didn't hear what else you asked. Is that it? Just where we are from? What our position is?
Yeah. So Adrian, you are the case managers, not just you, but case managers are the ones that make this work. Without case managers, it doesn't work. So you're not a lowly case manager.
Yeah.
You're the workhorse.
Well, when it came to credentialing on this call, I was a little lowly case manager, but definitely know that the LCSWs that help this program have a clinical piece are important too, but that's just my position. Our clinician, she's off today, so, but yeah.
Well, we're glad to have you, and all clinicians are important. Heather.
Hi, I'm Heather Vance. I'm the director for our AOT program and ACT program in Nevada County, California.
Thank you. And Betsy is not the only non-clinician. Apparently, we have the Honorable Tom Anderson. Who's on mute. Or his microphone's not working. Well, if we could hear him, we would hear him tell us that he is the judge for the AOT court in Nevada County and works with Heather.
Yes.
James Randall.
Hi, I'm Jim Randall. I'm with an LCSW at Los Angeles County. We've done this I've been doing AOT outreach engagement since 2015. And I apologize, they don't allow Zoom on our computers. So I'm just holding the phone for this introduction. So I'm going to turn it off here in a moment. So, but I'm glad to be here. This is my first time.
I'm glad to have you. I have to say that after 2 years of a pandemic, anybody that doesn't allow Zoom is, I don't know, just short-sighted, I think. Brad Cherry.
Hello. Again, Brad Cherry. I'm an LPC in New Mexico. There's a bit of a different term. I think it's LPCC. I'm out of Las Cruces, New Mexico. I was looking at an AOT program startup in El Paso, which is a stone's throw from Las Cruces, New Mexico. And I moved over here with another company to start an ACT program. We're working closely with AOT now in Las Cruces. We're a brand new program. We start up in about November of 21. So we are learning our paces and we're putting stuff together, but glad to be here.
Las Cruces has had a program for since 2016. Are you new to, I don't recall meeting you when we were in Las Cruces. Did I meet you?
I don't think we met. We might have spoke. We were trying to start up a program in El Paso, Texas. Amy, we had met a couple of calls, maybe like a year and a half ago. But we are a second program. As far as ACT, not AOT, but we're working with ACT. Yes.
Okay. Yes. All right. Great. Mara.
Hi, I'm Mara. I work for Bert Nash in Lawrence, Kansas. I am also on an ACT team. We just started in January, and I'm new to, is it AOP? Is that correct?
AOT.
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 To be completely
Assisted
honest, I
outpatient
don't know what
treatment.
that is. I got this Zoom link from my supervisor and it looked super enticing. So that's why I'm here.
Oh, well, welcome to you.
Thank you.
You don't need any prior knowledge. We'll help you along for sure.
Perfect. Thank you.
Malik.
Hi, everyone. I apologize for not being on camera. I for some reason on this this app, my image looks very odd. It works okay on other things, but on this, it's like, it's weird looking. So anyway, Malik Tate, I supervise the teams that handle AOT cases in Southern Los Angeles County. So I'm with the LA County Department of Mental Health.
Wow, LA is in force here.
Yep.
They rival Kansas. Way to go. So again, really glad to have you here, and really excited to have some newbies and folks that are old hats at this. Nobody's old, just old hats. So we typically just ask if there's any concerns or any questions, and there are no limits to this. So if you have a question, ask it. If we don't get started with questions, then I have some ideas of things we can talk about. So if you have a question, just unmute yourself and jump right in.
I have a question. I was wondering if anybody else is facing the issue of having community expectations of the program be different than the actual functioning of the program. I think specifically for us, people think that we can forcibly medicate people in the community, and they think that our program is more akin to what can be court ordered in a hospital than what AOT really is. So I'd love to hear how other people are dealing with that.
I can say that we have experienced a lot of that in the community, but a lot of it with family members of people that are involved in AOT, where they feel like they've been fighting and fighting and fighting to get their loved one help. And then we get them into the program and they're like, what do you mean they're not living in a locked facility? Like, what do you mean that you can't make them take their medication? And so a lot of constant education with people, just repeating ourselves over and over and over again, lots of education, what the reality is of this law and what we can do with it, and what is not the reality. But I think also pointing out the benefits of being in a program that doesn't take someone's rights from them, as opposed to something like being in a locked facility where you basically have no rights and they are forcing medication on you. And how much more respectful that is, and how much more successful someone can be in a program like that. But lots of education.
For me, I have collectively tried to identify like what other community partners seem to have a misunderstanding about AOT. So like, for example, so like there was law enforcement, certain agencies that had misconceptions. So basically what I did is I forced my way into their team meetings and offered, hey, I can provide you a 10 to 15 minute presentation on AOT. Here's a little PowerPoint. Here's my contact information. And I have found that has actually like really debunked a lot of the myths that people had, and has actually like pretty heavily increased our referral process as well. Because now I was able to talk to not just like the program supervisors, but the social workers or the officers and everyone else. So yeah, some of the programs might not be big fans of me, but I've gotten into their team meetings to talk about it. So that's been helpful for us.
So apparently one of the hats that Mackenzie wears is a football helmet. So good job.
I think too, sometimes we run into struggles with providers understanding how serious the court takes the AOT, and some of the providers have struggled to become accountable for providing the client the support that the court wants them to, although that's changing. So our AOT program, our court is very, very, very involved with the clients that are on the AOT. We have, not everybody, but they show to court twice a month, and their providers are there. And the providers are expected to provide reports and things like that. And initially, when this type of the AOT kind of took place, some providers really struggled with that and didn't realize that the court really wanted them to be accountable. That has since changed, but sometimes that takes education when a new client with a new provider becomes involved with the court, is making sure that they understand what the expectations are, and that it's not that it's a team effort, and this is all meant to support the client and keep them successful, and not a punitive program.
Michelle, are you talking about prescribers that are being at those hearings as well, or?
No, case managers.
Thanks, everybody.
And I think too, we work really hard to sell AOT to a community, and we talk about all the good data, the great outcomes that we get from AOT. But so then the perception is that AOT can fix all folks, that it's the magic bullet that will turn someone who is not necessarily responsive to treatment. And when I say that, I primarily mean antipsychotics and things. Some folks are just so sick that AOT is not going to be make the difference in their recovery. And you also see that with people who are heavily involved in drugs. I will never say that people with co-occurring disorders can't succeed, because absolutely they can. But when a person's driving motivation is solely drugs, it's really hard to break through that, especially with some of these, I'm going to show my old-fashionedness, but I mean, meth, for example, is just so consuming. So, yeah. And again, getting families to understand that the AOT order doesn't mean that you can make someone stay any one place is very, very, it's very hard. Hey, Betsy. So
I'm gonna chime in.
I say Betsy's our family expert. Do you have any advice for how to get through to families?
Well, I can certainly, and I know they've tried this already. Tara's group has already tried this and hasn't been overly successful. But for some of the others that you may not be aware of, the family-friendly curriculum, I believe in class 5 does have an AOT module where they bring up the issue of AOT. So if you've got a relationship, which you should, if you don't already have a relationship with your local NAMI affiliate, perhaps you could ask to be added to the agenda on the night of that when that comes up, and just give a little spiel about your program and, introduce people, but in letting them know that this is not a cure-all, but for some candidates, it's, it really makes a huge difference, so that they have more realistic expectations about what AOT is.
We actually have a representative from NAMI will attend court and provide that support and just information.
That's wonderful when they do that. If they, come, especially if you're having court the same day, every month or whatever, if you have your NAMI representative there, and they can provide support to the family, let them know about those, family to family education classes and support groups, and helps connect the families to one another so they can support each other.
I have a question. So Pinellas County is in the starting processes of bringing about a mental health court. So I was wondering if there's any other AOT. I understand the difference between the two. I was wondering if there's any AOT programs, like if your county also has a mental health court, and if there's been any collaboration, what that has looked like, and just kind of maybe how the two programs can work together or maybe even work against one another.
So our county has both. If somebody goes into mental health court, we step back. We'll discontinue them out of AOT, and then they can just follow the mental health court. Is typically how we do it.
We do the same because there's no need to have them both going at the same time, we have found. But I think it can be beneficial. You can do an AOT when they're approaching the end of their mental health court time, if they're going to need that.
We don't have a full mental health court, but we do have a specialty docket where people with mental health diagnoses can be referred. And so they are working with attorneys and judges that are more familiar with people with mental health diagnoses. And so our program just started in the last couple of months, taking referrals from our jail. So we're taking referrals. They go through the attorneys who are representing people on that specialty docket to the mental health staff at the jail, and then to me after that. And our goal is people who are taking meds in jail and don't really need to be sitting on a wait list for a state hospital for competency restoration, who, if they were connected to supportive services that are court ordered, they could get out of jail. The criminal judge would consider dismissing the charges. We take those people and then they go through a process where their charges are then dismissed and their cases transferred to the civil court for the outpatient commitment. We've only done a couple of those so far, but the goal is that we can get some people out of jail that are really there for mental health services at that point.
We have both a co-occurring and an AOT within our judicial system. And our AOT is part of our judicial system. We aren't a separate mental health entity, but we staff cases when people get arrested and make a determination of where they might best fit. But we've also found that those who've gotten in trouble, who've been in AOT, will keep them in AOT if their functioning level is such that they wouldn't be successful in a behavioral health court because the requirements are so much higher for them as far as the task that they need to take place in order to not be held in contempt and go to jail.
In Los Angeles County, we do have a mental health court, and our AOT cases are adjudicated by a mental health court judge. She also happens to be the judge that handles LPS conservatorship applications in our county. We work fairly seamlessly with the court. I think some of the challenges for us have to do with the court's view of the program in general, and sort of, her understanding of, she comes from a different sort of court, and so there can be challenges that have to do with that and that of the public defender as well.
I'm sorry, I just noticed that Bonnie joined us and didn't get a chance to introduce herself. So Bonnie, you want to tell us who, where you're from, and well, I can tell you're the ACT case manager.
Yeah, I'm from Lawrence, Kansas. I live in Kansas City, Kansas, but I work in Lawrence, Kansas, and I'm a ACT case manager. Recently was a dual diagnosis case manager, and our team just started up, and we're still trying to hire for the whole team. Mara is my coworker, so we're just here to get information and take back to the team.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Wendy, you mentioned that you guys staff cases of people that get arrested that might, fit some of these lanes. What stakeholder are you affiliated with? Or mental health or courts, and kind of how does that work? I guess.
Our AOT program is a part of our courts. So that is who is our funding is for and where we sit. And then we contract out to a mental health provider in the area. So fortunately, those persons who are over the other courts and the jail, our social workers there, all work together and work for the same entity.
Very good. Very good. Thank you.
Wendy is part of the SAMHSA grant program.
Very good. And where are you at again?
I'm in Covington, Louisiana. So I'm the parish above New Orleans, which has its own AOT program, by the way.
Great, thank you. Well, I'm having another question then. How long is your grant, and then what does it look like funding wise? And maybe if Amy, if I'm going off the rails here, please pull me back. But sustainability wise, who's going to fund it after the grant?
So it's a 4-year grant. It is, I think it's like $1 million a year that we were granted. I can tell you that we just closed on our first year and spent a fraction of that in cost. Very little. So I think once we get to the end of that, really just the salary sustainability is what we're going to look for, because we don't have treatment costs due to Medicaid or Medicare, and we can use local transportation. So we're really finding that we're just kind of building up the supplies from our grants and building up for our people. But we're going to have a plan eventually just to make it self-sustainable.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Adrian?
Yeah. I had a question about how, because I'm hearing a lot of court and you are getting referrals from jail. We do not, ours is not set up that way. We get all our referrals from our main psychiatric hospital. So in your all's criteria, the coworker, it's just me and Renee, the clinician that works with me on our team. We're a little lowly small team, but strong but small but mighty. In our team, we go to the hospital to do the assessment and see if people are appropriate for AOT. I'm not hearing the same criteria that we, the guidelines that we follow in order to admit them onto the docket. And so are you all not doing insight, like the level of insight that clients are having? Because we do no insight. Like they literally at the top of our chopping block, they have to lack insight to a mental illness. I know some of yours are occurring. We're not even at that stake at AOT in our division, but I guess I'm just, the AOT experience is different according to how you are doing your intakes and who you're putting on the docket. And because if everybody that's on the docket, I guess my question is, I've already asked my question. I'm gonna just be rambling if I say anything else.
Just one before anybody answers. Adrian, I'm sorry, I've forgotten where you're.
I'm from Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh, Louisville, Kentucky. Yes.
We take, thus far, the majority of our referrals have been from our inpatient psych hospitals. So in my county, we have a state hospital in our catchment area. And then we also have multiple private psychiatric hospitals. So we take referrals from all of them. And that was our first rollout. But also in my county, the largest psychiatric provider in the county is our jail. So that's why we tried to develop a process where we could take some referrals there as well, because we see a lot of people get stuck in jails, especially right now. All of our state hospitals in this entire state of Texas are closed to competency restoration commitment admissions right now because of COVID staffing levels. So the list is very, very long, and people are waiting months and months and months in the jail to get into a hospital. So that's kind of the need that caused us to expand to taking those referrals. But originally we were just taking hospital referrals, and then we're looking for the same sort of clinical stuff. Our program also utilizes the ACT model. So people need to qualify for ACT level services in addition to our legal criteria in Texas, which is that a lot of things, but essentially the person has demonstrated over the past 2 years that they're not able to voluntarily and effectively participate in outpatient treatment. And we're always looking at that lack of insight. That's definitely a piece for us.
But is that a deal breaker? You know, because we don't admit people that have insight.
We get lots of people who say they have insight when they're doing well in a hospital right before they discharge. But we're looking at their actions more than their words. And so that the Texas law is based on their behaviors and actions in the past 2 years. So they're saying, yes, this time I'm really going to stay on my medication and participate in treatment. But we're looking at 3 or 4 hospitalizations in the past year that were all because they didn't consistently participate in outpatient treatment.
So question, Adrian, what you're saying that if I am, you know, if there's a history of my inability to comply with a treatment plan or engage in services, but I acknowledge that I have a mental illness, that I would not qualify for services in your jurisdiction. Interesting.
I mean, we would, you know, that is not who we're rolling in. And that's why we have had, you know, I mean, I guess when you're looking at statistics and trying to do demographics and do stuff to report back to the grant, our numbers just look, you know, I mean, I could give you a good speech about our numbers because I'm the carrot holder. I see people, I engage with people, I know how to, you know, articulate. We may not have got to court, but you know, I got in the house, you know. So but as far as us, that's why it's so difficult for our engagement, because our clients just have no insight. I mean, and they have no desire to even, you know, I have people that don't even come out of the house, you know, intentionally, because they know I'm getting my W, and I know you're here from 7 counties, you know, from the mental health services, and I don't want to engage with you. And we can't force them out, and we can't force our way in, and they don't have to answer the phone. They don't have to, you know, talk to us. And so me and my coworker have discussed this a lot. How do we engage people that have no insight, that don't think they're sick, that don't want to take the medicine, and that don't want to even comply? They already didn't want to comply with treatment. We know that. That's why we're here. But how do you engage them? I mean, which, you know, it's a finesse that I work, but long term and just looking at numbers, how are we recording that level of engagement when there's no insight? And that's why I'm glad to be here, but you all's, I guess, requirements are a little different. So it makes it easier to get engagement, you know.
So let me just jump in here real quick, and then we'll go back to the rest of y'all. But Kentucky is interesting because their statute that allows AOT actually has written into it that the person must lack insight. It's the only state where I know that is true. So that's a big part of it. I would guess that probably 100% of the clinicians on this call would tell you that most of their participants lack insight. But let's throw the question back to the experts. How do you engage people that don't even believe they have an illness.
Well, can I jump in just to say, first of all, Adrian, there's no like lowly you case manager, because you were rocking it, obviously, there in Louisville. So way to go. And as you're asking the question, how do you engage with those folks? I'm just like, yeah. And I think that's probably why a lot of us are here. I don't have the answer because it's different. And you're right. I think it is a finesse and an ease at which you appear to really have, and just being you. So I guess I'm there too. Like, where do you go? What do you do when you've tried everything? You've tried all the tricks in your tool belt, and maybe tricks is the wrong term, but a person's just they're not ready to engage with you. So I didn't answer the question, Amy, but it just, I'm there too.
I was gonna say, like, we do anything possible to get someone to engage. It's like whatever you can figure out about that person. And right now, like, we have this gentleman right now that I haven't gotten him to court yet. I'm trying to avoid it because I'm afraid it's gonna scare him off. So I'm like being very gentle with him. And just found he's a vet too, and he just found out he's not going to start getting his vet's benefits, his money for like 5 or 6 months. And I'm like, okay, he doesn't have anywhere to live and he has no money, so we're going to pay for you to have somewhere to live, and guess what, you get to see our doctor too. So like, sometimes you got to kind of creatively finagle somebody into services, whatever it takes.
I really think that the family engagement is key. And I know that that's not always the case but that is my first go-to to try and engage. Good old-fashioned motivational interviewing. And sometimes it's a matter of, hey, I'm going to keep knocking on your door. Why don't you just go with me just once? And it's been amazing how many will say, okay, I'll just go to the one, or I'll just take the one shot. And then here we are 6 months later, and they're just different people.
And maybe a role that too, if your judge is willing, I know a judge in Lorain County, Ohio, if somebody doesn't show up for court, he'll write them a personal note and just let them know, I was really sorry to miss you today. I was really looking forward to seeing you, hear how things are going with you. I look forward to seeing you and, on the next court date with the date and time. And he's had some luck with that. So I don't know if that's something your judge would be willing to do.
I think she would, don't you think, Adrian? Don't you have Judge Burke?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. She gives them letters. I've got good old fashioned summons. I got personal letters. I got an email. I can get anything, but they don't care. I guess when you say insight, it's like, not only is it like an insight, but anything judicial, anything legislative is a trigger. It's a huge trigger. For all of them, because they look at it as, I'm in the hospital. Why are you making me do this? These are people that every time they're inpatient, they get de novo. Like they're just not, but it's a finesse. Obviously Kentucky's a peculiar place because we have another level of statute that's going to be fun. So we'll work it.
Adrian, how often do your people come to court for being in front of the judge?
Some of them come every time.
Which is what, weekly, monthly?
Every 2 weeks.
Okay.
Well, excuse me, it's twice a month. So it may,
yeah.
But it's twice a month. And those that have like an inner, the black robe effect really works, they will come. Because I'll remind them, and I spit a lot of game, like, you better go tell that judge what's up, you don't want her being on their docket, I spit a lot of game to them to get them to come. Some of them are willing, you tell them they got to be somewhere, and they're just like, okay, I'll go. But some have not, but it kind of depends on my engagement. If I've been able to get to them like the day or two or the week before, and I'm a split staff. I do criminal justice as well as AOT. So it's two different, it's a lot of different dockets going on, a lot of different people that need to get to court. But they are not, and some people have never come. I have a guy that was on it for a year, and his first time coming to court. Now he talked virtually a couple times, but his first time coming in person was January the 10th. But yeah, and I don't know. To me, I love AOT because it gives me permission to come to them. These are people that don't get treatment. So I love that these are people that are not, getting caught. They refuse to be caught. I don't want you to come in. I don't want to talk to you, but I get to be like, well, the judge sent me, but I'm here to help you, I'm on your side, And so because I get to do that, I'm getting to engage with people that, visit the hospital 3 or 4 times a year. Now they're not going to the hospital 3 or 4 times a year. Now they go to court. No, they didn't go to court. Did they get their shot? No, they didn't get their shot, but they like seeing me, and something about, having somebody come and just check on them and engage with them. I don't know. It does a little something. No.
Well, and I think the rapport building process is longer for our clients, we have to take the baby steps as successes and celebrate those, because we're not seeing, we're seeing more incremental change. And if people like seeing your face and they're willing to open the door and talk to you, then you're making that progress. Even if they won't take the shot yet or go to court, they're interfacing with some part of the system that they wouldn't otherwise interface with. You've got eyes on them. You can see a crisis coming, and otherwise that no one would.
And one thing I've had to accept, I've worked like 20 years now in this field, and I myself have a mental illness and used to be a peer specialist. It takes a long time for our clients to create the behaviors they have. It's going to take a long time to undo those behaviors too. There is a deep psychology to our clients, and the ones that we're treating, I think, are really kind of, I hate to say it like this, but are kind of the worst of the worst. And so they're like forensic almost. And there's so many layers to them compared to like normal outpatient clients. And I hate that word too, but it's
what makes you a rock star.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, we're doing good work, and it's just going to take a long time with some of them. I've had some clients, it took a decade, just to get them from volunteering, to being housed, to volunteering 5 hours a week, and being homeless. So, and it's just, as long as they're not getting arrested. I have one client today I seen, I'm like, I hope she's not arrested by the weekend. And that's the success. So yeah, but that's my feedback. It's Adrian, I'm sorry. It's your state sounds like it's a challenge though. So
it's a fun time. It's a great time.
I would hate to work in that state. So
I think if you can get them to open the door, really, that is huge. And so once they open the door, don't talk about medicine, don't talk about court, talk about what they want to talk about. And focus on what they want, what they want their recovery to look like. So it's hard because here there's this court order saying you must participate in treatment. And as case managers, we know that that approach is not going to work. It's going to be talking about music over coffee that's going to make, and building that relationship that's really going to make the difference.
Yeah, and it's just, these people have been institutionalized for years with either prison, jail, mental health appointments. They got decades of seeing therapists and case managers. It's a lot.
And
Amy, I'm sorry, go ahead, Amy.
And I was to say, and maybe you know, the discussion is, how are we going to keep you out of the hospital today? Because that's the place they don't want to be. That's the one thing you can join on, is keeping them out of the hospital. Neither of you want them. Your client doesn't want to go, and you don't want your client to go. So you've got a shared goal. So.
No, I think Amy, last time we were on a call together, you mentioned this, and I think, you know, I'll speak from my experience, you know, as a clinician, you know, you feel this pull as far, especially with all the regulations and the rules, you feel like you got to be a clinician, and really you just got to be a human. Like, you know what I mean? You just got to be where they are. And sometimes that's not, you know, talking about, you know, all the stuff, you know, all the terms and stuff, but just like you said, take a cup of coffee and let's just be together for a minute. And I think when at least for me, when I'm able to do that, and lose all the other hoops that I will jump through, and when it's time, you know, but then as a person can just be who I am, and that just brings everything. And there's that authenticity level that people can pick up on, right? And they're more drawn to you when we're being authentic.
Amy, you said something about a shared, and I'm forgetting now, you said a shared
goal.
Shared goal. And I think that's the key, is partnering with that person and what it is that they need and want in that moment. And you align with them in that goal, and you become, you know, an ally at that point. And one of my favorite stories of one of the people that we serve through AOT, his case manager, when he met with him, referred to himself as an advocate, because he read into this gentleman was very volatile and aggressive and angry, and felt like he had to fight all the time, and he was just coming off probation. He'd never had mental health treatment, total anosognosia, no insight at all. And his case manager was not about to go and say, like, I want to offer you mental health treatment, I'm your case manager. He said, I'm your advocate. And this gentleman really resonated with that and was like, I really need an advocate. Thank you. And it was just, that's what got him hooked into like accepting help, or not help, but accepting our presence.
One, and I don't know if this is peculiar, that's why I'm asking to us. We have a lot of clients, well, not a lot, but he's one, but it seems like 10 that have language barrier. So that he doesn't speak good English, if he's very limited. And then like we go between, we don't even know if he speaks Turkish or Russian. And then his family doesn't speak, you know, his primary caretaker, his wife, she doesn't speak any English. Is there any one of you all that have, you know, how do you, I don't know, because you all don't have that, like, he has lack of insight. So he's not sick and he doesn't speak English. And, you know, it's just, how do you all advise and advocate for families that, you know, and we've tried NAMI, but that have that language barrier?
I know where I live in Kansas City, we have something called Jewish Vocational Center, and it's an agency that provides multicultural mental health services. So they have different therapists that provide all wraparound services in different languages. I bet you don't have that.
And he wouldn't go anyway. We can't get him
right.
to the doctor. I mean, that's the thing. Like, these people have lack of insight. We have an ACT team, but they don't want to be, they don't want services. So I can't get, you know, him on an ACT team that can bring him his medicine and his therapy.
What's his day-to-day look like?
Smoking cigarettes every day, all day, you know, and just staying at home. He used to work, which, you know, he used to be the primary provider of his household, but I think like he had a break about 10 years ago, but he's kind of been medicated since before the pandemic. He used to get his shot in his medicine. And then I think that lapse in care kind of just really triggered him and pushed him over the edge, you know, and so day to day, he's just kind of walking around the house smoking. He doesn't sleep. He doesn't leave the house. If he does, it's kind of like in a lost days. He gets lost in the community. So that's why it's just a huge concern. You know, moving him is a concern. He's kind of intensified in his psychosis, and his mood has become more agitated. He's hit his wife, you know, the last time he was admitted to the hospital. So we're just, you know, I mean, we call, we go over there, we check in, but he's, you know, I'm good, you know, that's all he says. I'm good, you know, and he cusses us out, you know, after a week, you know, through the interpreter. I mean, it's a fun time, you know, but we are like at a loss, like, you know, he's just, you know, there's nothing that we can do because he's not amenable to ACT services. So that could at least get him a shot. You know, I think if he got it to the house, he'd probably take it, but he won't. There's, you know, and we can't just, I don't know, buy him cigarettes. Like, come on, get in the car. Come on, let me take it to, you know, get another cigarette, you know, and the family, you know, which we all know the family is no help because we're like, set a boundary, you know, tell them you can't get another pack until you go in, you know, but it is hard for them.
That sounds exactly like a client we have, but he speaks English.
Oh.
You know.
No,
So we got one up on you.
It's a big up.
Yeah, big up.
Big up.
Damn. Ooh, the language barrier, that's huge.
Yeah, and it's a pickle in the while he's inpatient. It's, you know, as soon as he leaves, he throws his medicine away, and he's done. And this concerning because he, you know, he goes into places and he like steals. So you already have a language barrier, and it becomes dangerous because, you know, if his son doesn't find him in time, because he's his interpreter. So if he didn't find him in time, you know, who knows what the store manager would do? Who knows what the police would do when they come? You know, it's like, you know, and because of his violent tendencies that are, you know, we're like, well, let's move him to another family care home. Well, I don't know about you all, but our family care homes are in more urban communities. So then, whoa, we would be like, you know, it just, I don't know. Just wanted to see if you all had any of those experiences and what you kind of, the method you use, but Mama.
Yeah, in our county, we use language translation services, so we could just call them up while we're talking to them and translate, you know, Chinese or Vietnamese or whatever.
It's not the language. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, okay, I'm sorry. I thought that was what you said, the language barrier.
The language barrier is not the issue. We have the translation.
Oh, okay.
It's the lack of insight coupled with the language barrier that he's not sick, he doesn't need help, he doesn't need services, coupled with his, you know, active psychosis and symptomology that's going on in his household that's just creating pure chaos. And, you know, if we do call in the language line, he doesn't talk to us. Every time he just cusses us out and you know, I don't want to talk, I'm good, you know. So I think for me, you know, that level of engagement and even being able to build rapport, the doors kind of slammed in my face because I can't even get on your level because I can't speak your language, you know.
Yeah, I don't see how you can build rapport with someone if you can't speak their language. It just, especially someone with lack of insight with the anosognosia, I can't see how you can do that. I mean, I would think you'd have to pull from somebody from their community or one of his, or like his son, to help with that connection.
He sounds like he may be close to hospitalization or at a level.
He's another level of care. Honestly, I don't think he is appropriate, you know, to stay at home anymore, but his, you know, this is, you know, I have to think about the cultural aspect, you know, a lot of people, especially that are English is a second language and they are first generation immigrants, they're very close knit. It's very close knit in the household, in the community, but they don't even live in like the high level population of immigrants. They don't even live in the area. So they really, it's just them in that neighborhood. And so they're really close knit family. Then they do not want him to be gone. They don't want him to go anywhere. They want him to come home. And they think we're going to come in and make him, typical, make him take his medicine, make him oblige. And we're like, we can't do, and so we're useless to them. But when we tell them and give them suggestions, like, set these boundaries, set these barriers, they don't listen to us, like we were like, if he hits you again, you call the police. He needs to understand the consequences of violence and how if his psychosis is causing him to be violent, that's priority for him to take his medicine. But they don't want him to have any kind of consequences in which, that I think that's heightened because of the cultural aspect. And it just,
he's gonna, so I would suggest guardianship. He might have to have some consequences. And I hate to say that, and I hope I don't get in trouble for saying that. But
you in trouble for that. Don't say
guardianship. Sorry. And I have a mental illness myself. So I'm just saying, like, it maybe it could be temporary, but I've seen success in guardianship. And somebody who's like that, and if the family wants to take medicine and get stable and get better, they can't. It sounds like they're enabling to me, and they might need to let things unfold naturally so that they can prove he lacks insight to make a case for guardianship, and so they can place him in an appropriate place so he can be stable. But that will take a lot of APS reports and documentation and all that stuff. I've got a lady right now that keeps overdosing on her narcotics, and that's the method I'm having to go with. So, because she has no family.
In our county, guardianship is very almost impossible to get.
Yeah.
It sounds like maybe it might be a lot easier with where you're at.
Yeah. It can be if you can get enough reports in and the right people, like if the hospitals make a report, if family make a report, if enough of the right people make reports over a period of time, the state will come in eventually. They will.
And it doesn't quite work like that here.
Yeah. You got to be persistent and annoying.
Yeah, I wish that was enough. So
yeah.
The thing about guardianship, though, is that you can't make anybody take medication that they don't want.
No.
The guardian can sign a consent for the medication.
Yeah, guardianship is, in our district, in our county, guardianship is just, it would be null because they depend on the immediate family. If they aren't burnt out yet, they will depend on them for housing. And I know for a fact his wife's going to be like, the guardian's going to call and say, can he come home? And she's going to be like, yeah, I want him home. And that guardian's going to send him right back home. That because, they want to make sure they have a place to stay, and they're not looking at it from our aspect, clinically and what's appropriate. They're going to look at it as, I'm making sure I've got one more person housed, at least for the time being. So
he can still refuse medicine and AWOL anywhere he goes, but it's just somebody else that can hold to be accountable for him. Because if he's committing crimes, I mean, I don't know, he can't be protected forever. So
I had another question about, I forgot who said that they got a whole lot of money. Miss Wendy, so because I think we got the similar stipend for our pilot of us doing AOT. And so you said you didn't utilize a lot of money. Was that because you're in the court? So you don't have to, because I'm coming from community health. So I'm connecting them to housing. I'm connecting them to, travel expenses. I'm connecting them to really mainly housing and getting to and fro from court, from, if they have any doctor's appointments. And I just, what does it look like to you all? budget wise, being able to meet long-term needs, because all of my people, I'll say about 80% are homeless, are living in family care homes, and the insight's so poor. I mean, it is a real pull and tug to get them to let me call Social Security with them. They're like, I got it, I'll take care of it, or they missed the appointment, they don't want me to go, so they don't have a way to get their Social Security cut back on or to reapply, or and that funding, they don't have any money, but they've been out of the hospital. And so it's like now we're running to a place where they've been in this family care home that charges $1,200 a month for a time limit, that's rent out, and how does that look on your all's teams, or like giving that extra funding to keep them stable in the community? But I guess, I don't know. I'm just trying to be like, well, they did it. They gave their money for 8 months. Give me somebody to say that. I can go back and be like, they gave them 8 months or $1,200 a month. We can do this.
I do. We don't pay for any housing, and we don't have any housing contracts. Our area, our capture area, is very unique in that we're more suburban versus urban area. We don't have a lot of homeless shelters. We don't have a lot of group homes. So when people have to go to that, they're going to end up in another area outside of our treatment provider. So I would say I could count maybe 2 or 3 people who've been truly, truly homeless that we've dealt with. Other than that, we do attempt to get them onto Social Security. We are, both myself and my case manager are SOAR certified through SAMHSA, which is a program that helps those who are homeless try and get on Social Security. And we just reach out to try and get whatever sources we can. I think we spend maybe about $1,000 in transportation that we contract with DAMI to transport our persons, but there is Medicaid transportation available. We just, because we have the budget to do it, we don't use it unless we have to. And we tend to have people who are in our program who have a lot of family support, because the vast majority of our referrals are from the community, not from hospitals. Although I'm trying to change that. But a lot of them are just family who are calling and really want to be a part of that. So outside of that, very little in treatment cost, because a lot of people are already covered. If they're not covered, we're going to get them covered. So I think maybe we spent $150,000 in our first year, maybe 200, because we were getting computers and things like that. But we're now in year 2, so we'll see.
So I think that's a really good point, is having, if you are in a high poverty, high home area, that having somebody on the team that is a benefit specialist, SOAR trained preferably, so that instead of having to take someone, to fill out the application, blah, 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 they can come to them, because that's really difficult.
I've literally never heard of that. Can you give me the acronym of that, and how do you get trained in that? I've never even.
It's free online. I will tell you, it's tough. It took about a couple weeks. It's meant to be like a 40-hour training program. Let me find the website and I'll put it in the chat box.
They used to have grants to train folks.
They can train me. I already got a grant. It's ALT just tied in there, and we can get to go, because most of my clients, they have that issue. Nobody has benefits, and if they do, but okay, with the SOAR, for example, if you have somebody that doesn't want to have you in their business, can I interview them and get general information and be able to submit it without having to get that level of engagement that they would have to give at a Social Security office? That makes sense.
Yes. Okay. And the point of SOAR is that it really does help those who need the benefits get them. It gets the benefits to the people who need them most.
If you can get them to sign a release of information is the biggest hurdle. And then you become their voice for them. You can get the medical records for them. You can get all of it. You write a letter on their behalf. I think it has like a 60 to 70% acceptance rate versus typical. I mean, it's a really high advantage than those who just apply on their own.
Absolutely. Yep.
I just take this adult course. Is it cost?
I don't
know. It's free.
No, it's free.
And
it's free, and you get CLEs for it.
Y'all, they gonna be like, "What you doing, Adrian?" I'm like, "Nothing," you know.
And they will critique and grade your homework, your project that you send back to them. They'll give you tips, and then you'll have every state should have their own source specialist, like a state office specialist that you can call and get help from.
Yeah, everybody knows about SOAR.
Wow, I'm blown away.
See, these keep coming back. These meetings are helpful.
Yeah, I got an A+ in my book. You know, they be having meetings just to have a meeting, but this was actually, it's useful.
What about others?
For people like Adrian was talking about, we have a couple of transitional residential facilities. So if we have somebody that's homeless, doesn't have their entitlements, we as a part of their AOT, hey, you have to go into this residential program. And then the judge will just usually, every time they present, will encourage them, okay, what have you applied for benefits yet? We really want you to apply for benefits. This is why we want you to apply for benefits. Sometimes he'll get them to sign the releases during court, when they come to court, okay, can you sign these releases? This is going to allow us to work with you on getting things together. That has been a big thing because, we have one rescue mission who won't take a client who has schizophrenia or bipolar disorder and is not taking medicine. So you're not allowed to stay there. So we really rely on our residential, our transitional residential, which is limiting because, there's obviously a great need for housing.
Any last thoughts? Well, you guys knocked it out of the park this hour. Just really, really informative, good conversation, and really appreciate your attending. Next time is in May. And when the bulletin comes out, sign up. It'd be great to have y'all. And any parting comments before?
I just want to remind everybody that we're scheduled for the National AOT Symposium, October 13th and 14th in San Antonio. So pencil that in on your calendars, and we'll have more information out about that in the next few months. But we're really hoping that you and your teams will make the trek to San Antonio and join us. It's going to be a great program, and we're really looking forward to it and love to have you there.
Yeah, and especially those of you who have grants, it is definitely an acceptable expense. So those of you who don't have grants, which is the majority of you, it's a very worthwhile trip.
And the event itself will be free. Of course, you'll have to pay for your travel and hotel, but there's no charge for the program itself. And there will be hopefully CEUs that will be getting through Texas that you hope you can carry back and submit to your licensing authorities.
Even CLEs, Judge Anderson.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. So again, thank you very much for joining us. Have a great weekend. We get to slide right into the weekend now.
Thank you. I really appreciate this meeting.
Come back, Adrian. We'd love to see you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good one.
Thank you.